Okay, just to give you a in this song, da 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 da. It used to be that we only had three or four channels. We had PBS, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Nothing more. We didn't have. This was before cable. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, or about 12 o'clock, sometime really late at night, all the programming would stop, and then they would play the American. They play the American song. No, 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 and that's what they're. Ooh. And then on that they would show this picture of an Indian guy with all these lines and stuff, and those lines would produce moire patterns that were used to test the signal and stuff like that. Sometimes they would do testing to see if the signal was coming through okay. But at night they had that thing on, and eventually it would probably go to White Snow. And dun 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 dun. I've been watching you waltz all night, Diane. Nobody found a way behind your fences. They never noticed the. Let me bring it down. I need some more water. That's the problem. That's the problem. Where's my water? Is there any water here? I gotta go get some water. I'll be back in a second. Oh, there's one right there. Just the amount that I need. Now good. Ooh. I don't drink and I don't smoke, so my dad smoked, but he, knowing how hard it was for him, I never took up and his brother died from alcoholism. He, his doctor told him he couldn't drink any more alcohol, and then one night he drank some alcohol, and they found him dead, bleeding from the mouth. So, and my mom's father died whenever she was 14, and he was alcoholic. So I had both on both ends of the family, and I even tried out alcohol whenever I lived in New York. And after I blacked out from it, I decided not to drink anymore. You know, I had five Jacks and Cokes, and my friend carried me home and said that if he hadn't been there to do that, somebody probably would have stolen my wallet or something. So it was good I had a friend, you know, take me. And I would look down on his pant leg and I said, "You got some mud?" He says, "That's not mud." I had vomited on his pant leg, and I'm surprised he could carry me home. I was just, you know, I'm a big guy and he's a kind of a short dude, and he was able to get me home a good bit of the way. I guess what he did is he took me into a cab and brought me to and then I came to, but I had blacked out. That was really kind of bad. And so I pretty much didn't drink. I did drink, but I didn't drink that much while I was in New York. And when I was in Houston, living by myself, I decided to try my hand at the alcohol again, and then I just kind of lost interest in it. The only stuff I ever drunk was the sweet wine. I'm trying to remember what its name was, but it's all I can't. All I can, if I drink, the only stuff I can drink is stuff that's got like some sweet soda in it, or or it's a daiquiri. I don't. Whenever I was in Manhattan, I drank beers. I would drink the worst beer of all, Guinness, and because I kind of like the little mustache that put it on the top part of my lip, and but it was awful tasting. I don't know why I did it. I was probably just to get a little bit buzzed, and so I was familiar with alcohol enough that I would drink something, and there was this really good bar that I would go down to on 7A, and that's the name of the bar, was 7A, and they had electric lemonades, which were like 7-Up with vodka, and these 7-layer nacho dishes that tasted fantastic. So I'd go down there and have dinner at the bar and get an electric lemonade, and then I'd walk home, pretty much buzzed and light on my feet, and went home and fall asleep, wake up, and, have breakfast. And the thing that was really bad about Manhattan is the meals are just way too expensive in most of the joints, and you can never find anything below $10. And it's even worse further up the island. The further up north you get, the higher the prices get. The best time to go and eat is at lunchtime, because you're eating the day before's leftovers. So they'd serve their best meals at night, but more expensive, and then the next day they offer to the lunch crowd the leftovers, and the leftovers give you kind of a taste for what their late night stuff's going to taste like. So you come back with your business buddies and eat there late at night, and then you can have some drinks, and then go home, and that's where these restaurants make their money mostly, is in the alcohol and their night's food. And so I would go and have my meals at lunchtime at the I would just go from, if it was Korean, I'd try Korean. I'd try Vietnamese. I would try Thai. I even had something that claimed to be Mongolian. They had Mongolian. They had everything in the world. If there was some nationality for it, they would have it. And I went to this place that was it was Lebanese, and they had on the menu, and I didn't know whether to believe it or not, but I think really is that they were selling cigars, and it was called tobacco salad. And I was like, really, tobacco salad? And I mean, and I had wondered for a long time if that could have been real, and I had researched it and said no, it's tobacco is just way too poisonous for you to eat the leaves. They have to dry them to make the stuff you smoke, but eating tobacco leaves would kill you. And so I then realized that it really wasn't a salad. If it was, it probably had a few strips of tobacco leaf in it, and the rest was lettuce. So it probably was real, but I'd have no idea. But I ate what they had there. My most favorite, of course, was Chinese. Or there was a place around the corner from where I lived. I lived on 14th and 1st, and around the corner on 1st, across from the Studio Vesson Apartments, there was this little hole-in-the-wall Chinese restaurant there. Then next door to them was a Japanese Chinese restaurant. And the Japanese Chinese restaurant, I think it might have been further down the street. The Japanese Chinese restaurant was serving like Chinese dish, so I'd get General Tao chicken, and with a little bit of what is it that sake, hot sake, they'd give it to you in like a little mug or a little. They had a little thing that held the sake, and then you could pour it in your glass and drink it. So I would drink sake and I'd sit there and eat Chinese food, and that was if I was really kind of like wanting dinner, and I would go there. But if I wanted to save money and have Chinese food like all night long and the next day, there was a hole in the wall Chinese place there. I mean, it really was a hole in the wall type, you know, not very big, not very wide. And it's even possible that they didn't even cook the stuff there. They cooked it elsewhere and brought it on the subway to this place. And they had really good Chinese food. They had lots of selections, you know, as much as you'd find in any Chinese food place. And you would get something that was like this big, and you take it home, and it was like half of it was rice, white rice, and the rest was all the, you know, all this food, and it would last you. It would last me, and I'm a big guy. It would last me for several meals, and it only cost me like $6 or $7. So I mean, there's some really good places to eat in Manhattan, but there are some that you wouldn't know about unless you knew where to go, you know. And it's like that with places that serve soup, and you know, there was places I'd go to get a bowl of noodles. You know, that was the big thing, was to get to go to a certain. It was I don't know, it was a Japanese or just Asian restaurant, and they served noodles down the street. Let me see if I can remember what street it was on. It was like, I don't know if it was First. I think it was First. It was south of 14th Street on First, around the corner of probably 12th or something like that. And there was this Asian restaurant there that served hot soup with noodles in it, and I'd go down there and get one that I really liked that had mushrooms in it. And I had to wait a while because it was so hot, you know, it was steamy in that place. A lot of people there talking, and I was alone, you know. Much of the time that I would go to these places, I always ate alone because I didn't have any friends. And so, I mean, that's the thing about Manhattan. You have to practically live there your entire life to have friends that you would see on the street, because it's so rare that you would see your friends even on the same block, unless they were working in a food joint, you know. Because, I mean, for every block in Manhattan, there's at least 2,000 or 3,000 people, and so you can spend a lot of time living in Manhattan and not ever see anybody you know, unless you're a real socialite and you just remember everybody you've ever met. That would be the only way that you could really live in Manhattan and not feel alone. I was an introvert, so it was going to be very hard for me to meet people there. I met people at like technical events, you know, like 2600 events, and you know, where all the hackers meet. And I would go to my friend Vincent Ye would haul me down to various sorts of talks on various sorts of technical stuff. And I once went. I guess he took me to this. It was a Linux meeting talking about encryption. That's where I learned about symmetric and asymmetric key encryption and stuff. And in the back, they had these pastrami sandwiches, and I didn't even know what they were called. And ever since, when I had them, I just loved them. And then from that point on, I didn't know what the sandwiches were called. And all I could think of was bloody roast beef, and when I'd have bloody roast beef, it didn't taste like that. And it looked like that to me. That's the way the culinary stuff is whenever I've had something, if I don't know the name of it, I'll be wandering around all over the place trying to find it. And I did that in New York. I never knew what a marguerite was. I didn't know what to call it. And so I would go to the pizza place and I would say, "Can you serve me pizza that's got pesto on it and tomatoes, but it's got no sauce? What kind of pizza is that?" They could not tell me. And people, most of the Italian guys were just like, "You got to be kidding!" One guy told me, "You got to be kidding! If you put pesto on this pizza, it would sell for it'd be like $30." You know, I was like, "Oh, I've had it before." And he had a different idea of what I meant, but I was kind of like, and so I tried all the pizza in New York, but I never got this pizza that I really liked, which was the margherita. You know, and I had it at school whenever I was at UNM. We had a place across the street. And I think it was called Giorgio's or something, or some. It's this guy that had this pizza place, and on one wall he had this big old mural of like all these Hollywood stars, you know, old Hollywood stars like Laurel and Hardy, and he had the Beatles in a pool with you know, Daffy Duck and all this stuff, and Marilyn Monroe and all it on this wall. Dang it, he's probably still there. He's probably not, but he served strombolis and calzones and he sold margarita pizzas, but I didn't know what to call it. I completely forgot the name, and I was living in New York, and I was looking around for margarita pizza. The other thing I was looking around for was simple Southern biscuits and gravy. Of course, anybody in New York would probably fix their own biscuits and gravy, but I was expecting to go out and find Sasha's biscuits and gravy. Nowhere in the world could they sell that. If you went to anything that was Tex-Mex or Texas food, it would be about Tex-Mex. It would not be about simple Southern food. The closest I could get to it was eating Polish food, which they have some dishes in the Polish restaurant that are like something you'd find in the South. And it's no mistake, and a lot of people in the South were Polish people that migrated over. So there are a lot of people in the South that are descendants of Poles. And Polish food tastes like Southern food. You know, they have gravy. Of course, nobody like fixes blintzes or what are they, the potato, I forgot what they call them, but they don't have blintzes a Polish food? I'm trying to remember what the potato cakes were called. They had a name, but and they also had I had veal, stuffed veal, and I didn't know what veal was. You know, I thought it was, and what veal is it's baby calf meat. You know, so they slay a baby calf, and then that's where you get your veal from. So it's kind of cruel, a little bit cruel, I guess. Okay.